the availability reports. In the SEC, they released them on Wednesday night, and they released them for SEC games. So there are actually only 2 SEC on SEC games that they released reports for, but a couple of them had very interesting information. The biggest one, of course, South Carolina at Missouri. LaNorris Sellers, South Carolina's quarterback, listed as questionable, which if you saw him come off against Vanderbilt, and then you saw that line open for South Carolina, Missouri at 13.5, the thought was he wasn't going to play. Well, now it looks like he may be playing in this game, Ari.
Yeah, and I feel like South Carolina doesn't even have a chance to win if he doesn't play. Even if you sent him out there with a week of light practice or not practicing at all, like he's your best opportunity. There are so many teams this year, Andy, that we have, married elite level Superman-like performances at quarterback to how good the team is going to be. And some of those teams have gotten off to a pretty rocky start. And, South Carolina now has their first loss of the season because, I don't know if they would have beaten Vanderbilt had he continued to play because they were losing pretty good before he went out. But Mizzou, I think, is a very good football team this year. Bo Prabula is playing out of his mind. It's like South Carolina has some dudes. We talked about it, but I don't know if they have enough to win this game offensively if he doesn't play. So it'll be very interesting. And as you know, you said the concussion protocol usually lasts 7 days. And if you
that's the shortest it can go, and so that means you wake up Sunday morning, you've got no symptoms, and then you start the process, and you get yourself checked out and cleared later in the week, and then you're good to go. And I don't think they'd put him as questionable if they didn't feel like he's going to be able to play. So I'm looking at this now as if he's playing and starting. And the question is, what difference will that make? Because as you pointed out, against Vanderbilt, if he had been able to finish the game, I don't think it would have changed the result of the game. Maybe the margin of victory for Vandy would have been less, but I don't think it changed the ultimate result.
Yeah, and there are a handful, maybe 6 or 7 teams that are undefeated right now, are 3-0, and we're not 100% sure what they are, but they could be, in fact, like a top 10 team. Teams that aren't being given a lot of credit right now, or enough credit, turn out to be like the thing we're debating about, much like Indiana turned out to be last year in November. Could Vanderbilt be one of those teams? I don't know. Could Mizzou be one of those teams? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another one. So, at the beginning of the week, 13.5 points seemed like a pretty massive spread in an SEC game, especially because I don't know if what we saw out of South Carolina is 100% what they are or who they're going to be this year. That doesn't mean that Mizzou's not better, but 13.5, especially if LaNorris Sellers is playing, is a pretty nice little, coup, and now it's 10.5. So, it does seem to me that LaNorris is going to play, and I think that's great. And I hope that, because you don't want any team's season to get tanked by an injury, especially a concussion. It's just a bad luck injury. So, yeah.
So we're going to have John Ewing, the insights manager for BetMGM, on, and I'm going to ask him about this. I'm going to ask him how that affects the line. How did this happen? What would this look like if LaNorris Sellers was or wasn't playing, or was definitely playing? And I think it's going to help us get some perspective on it. Ari, question. After we talk to John, do you want to repick
the
South Carolina, Missouri game?
I mean, the spread has changed. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say in terms of how much LaNorris Sellers is valued, because my thought process was always, Andy, that, a quarterback might be worth 4 points. This has moved 3. There's still some uncertainty. Let's hear what he has to say about it.
Before we talk to John Ewing from BetMGM, I want to tell you about Gametime, and we're talking about that Auburn-Oklahoma game. There are tickets for Auburn-Oklahoma that you can get right now in Gametime in the low 100s. There are actually some tickets below $100, but there's some really good seats that you can get in the low 100s right now. And that was shocking to me, because this is a big, big game. This is, Oklahoma, since they came to the SEC, the first year in the SEC, they did not have the year they wanted. They feel like they can this year. This is a big SEC game. Auburn's playing really well so far this season. This is a big one. You can get in for a very good price. And we told you last week, watch those last minute deals. Watch those day of game deals. If you get a wild hair and you want to drive to Norman and go see that game, do it. Another one, Michigan, Nebraska. Also some good seats in the $100 to $200 range, which I wasn't sure if that was going to happen this season. And That's a pretty good deal because, again, Nebraska people very excited about what their team can be, and this feels like kind of a turning point game if they can win it. So good tickets available on Game Time. Prices getting even better by the day. Download the Game Time app and redeem the code STAPLES for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. And those prices you see that I'm talking about, they're not throwing a bunch of fees onto the end of that. If you see a ticket that says this costs $103, you will pay $103 for it. So that's the difference with Game Time, is they're not attaching a bunch of fees at the end. So download the Game Time app, code STAPLES, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Ari, let us talk to John Ewing from BetMGM because there's a lot going on this week and a lot of places to go with him. I want to talk to you about the LaNorris Sellers situation in the Missouri-South Carolina game because we saw him go out. That line opened at Missouri minus 13.5. Sellers is listed as questionable on the South Carolina availability report on Wednesday night. The line is, at that point, got down to about 10.5. And so I'm curious how you guys handle this sort of information, how the books handle this information, because it's obviously something that's been happening a long time in the NFL. They've always given out detailed injury reports, even going, this is what this person did in practice every day. How do you, with college, do you handle it the same way, that information? And how do you adjust the line when you figure out a key player is or isn't going to play?
Yeah, in general, the trading team tends to be conservative. They don't want to open themselves up to, potential middles or opportunities where they don't react fast enough. So if there's a hint that a player is going to be out, they're going to move that line immediately, which is what we saw. Mizzou open, like you said, 13.5 point favorite. Sellers now potentially available. That line's come down to 10.5. I was talking to the trading team. If Sellers was just fully healthy, there was no concerns at all, we would still have Mizzou as a touchdown favorite at home.
Interesting.
That's a pretty,
okay.
big discrepancy.
That was what I was wondering. Yeah.
Isn't that a pretty big discrepancy, though?
Between him being out and where the line is now?
Yeah, if you said it'd be a touchdown, that's a touchdown difference.
So that's kind of right. That's what I'm talking about, being a little conservative. They're like splitting the difference, right? Here's where it's open if he's out 100%. Here's 7 is what if we're fully healthy. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, so we're right in the middle, right? The book's waiting to see. Right now, the action is on the Tigers to cover this line, but because it's still early and with so much uncertainty on this game, I wouldn't be surprised if that flipped and we get a little bit more balanced, or even it starts leaning towards South Carolina potentially, given your guys' reaction that you thought that the line was kind of high.
Yeah,
well,
John,
I thought the line just sort of baked in that he wasn't playing, like the opening line. I thought it was baked in that he's out.
Yep. That's what, again, back to being conservative. They're like, okay, boom, he's going to be out. The line's 13. If he was healthy, it's 7. Right now, it's right in the middle.
A player that's as important to their team as LaNorris Sellers is worth a touchdown in your eyes, in the book's eyes? Because I thought really good players were 3-4 points typically. Is it different for quarterback? Is it different when that quarterback is the most important player on your team?
Yeah, it's that. It's also, it's on the road here. Something else, I was looking at Bill Connolly's S&P Plus rankings. He has Mizzou as a top 10 team based off of just this year. So much of our expectations and, are based on the top 25 preseason rankings and what teams did the year before. So, I think a lot of people were off of Mizzou with the questions at quarterback coming into the season. But so far, they've looked great. And this will be a really interesting game. If you guys remember, I am a Mizzou fan. I was all over the Tigers against Kansas when we spoke last time. So if this line keeps coming down, I'm going to be on my Tigers again.
So I feel pretty good, Andy, because I got 13.5 in our head-to-head. So I thought I jumped at the value there, and I've got 3 points of value here. Maybe I'll get even more if he ends up playing or the line moves a little bit. So I feel good about it.
I'm not sure I feel good about South Carolina based on how they played against Vanderbilt, because I just don't know, even if Sellers is healthy, how they're going to do. That is John Ewing from BetMGM. And Ari, are you ready to repick South Carolina and Missouri. It is now Missouri minus 10.5. John Ewing just told us that it would be 7.5 if LaNorris Sellers were definitely playing fully healthy, had not gone out of the Vandy game last week. Does that change how you would pick this game?
Well, I'm not going to change. I think that you might.
And you had who? You had who first?
I had South Carolina first. So what you're telling me is, and I picked 13.5. So if the spread's down to 10.5, that means I might have 3 to 4 points of closing line value. And I might end up losing still, but I'll take the 3 or 4 points. Especially now with the information that LaNorris is going to potentially play. So for you, I think we need to create some ground rules here, because you already laid the 13.5.
Yeah.
So if we pick the game, what line are you subject to?
Well, I think I'm still subject to whatever we picked on Monday. I think the rules are the rules. So, I don't get to suddenly take these 3 points, though I will say I feel more confident now because, again, I'm not sure it would have made a difference last week against Vanderbilt. And the way Vanderbilt was running the ball against South Carolina, have you watched – I know you've watched Missouri this season. I know you've seen Ahmad Hardy, 8.1 yards a carry. Jamal Roberts, 7.7 yards a carry. Missouri is a machine right now.
Has been running the ball so well and so effectively that 8.1 yards a carry seems low. If you've been watching Mizzou play, it feels like more than that. That is, what does he have? He has almost 500 yards through 3 games. Yeah, 5
rushing touchdowns too.
So, and I saw that he was kind of creeping up a little bit too on some of the Heisman, people looking for.
I mean, these aren't Ashton Genty at the beginning of last year numbers, but they're close.
Yeah. Turns out Ashton Genty was really good. So the thing that I don't like about the repick, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, is that you could conceivably go jump on South Carolina. If you jump on South Carolina here, then you only get 10.5.
I get a nice middle. Yeah.
But no, you don't get the 13.5. That ship is sailed. Right. So you have. If I were you, I would stick with where you are.
I am sticking with Missouri. Again, me taking Missouri minus 13.5, and I said it when we picked. I would have picked this if Sellers was playing. If I knew Sellers was playing at the time.
If you knew Sellers was healthy and playing, you would lay 14.
I'm not confident in South Carolina after seeing them last week.
14
night games at Williams-Brice Stadium. They don't get beat like that.
14.
That's a bad sign.
Game is a lot of points, Andy. We'll see. If they get their ass kicked again, then that's a really, really tough break for a team that thought they could compete for the SEC this year. So we'll see. I'm not giving up on South Carolina yet. Maybe their aliens will show up and prove me right. But I'm happy we didn't make it confusing. We stuck on different sides, and my hope is that South Carolina will cover the spread so I can get closer to you, because I'm being humiliated every week.
I have a feeling you're going to come back in the picks. I have the utmost faith in you.
Not after I beat you in trivia yesterday.
It may be that you just keep beating me in trivia and I keep beating you in the picks, and we've just, maybe it's a Freaky Friday thing. We've just switched bodies.